and engage in lively discussions. Expect a mix of insight, humor, and mental health, social justice, and relevance that promises an enlightening and enjoyable listening experience, ensuring you don't miss out on this captivating adventure on Next Gen.
Radio Al-Ansar, Jabit, 90.4 FM, Radio Maritime, 105.6 FM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is your host Ria Mahomed on Next Gen right here at Radio Al-Ansar. From exploring current trends to delving into pressing issues like social justice and mental health, this show fearlessly tackles the pivotal subjects that resonate deeply within our generation. My mission is to embody authenticity, relatability, and humor, ensuring that even the most challenging discussions become accessible and engaging, creating a space where listeners can feel understood and entertained simultaneously. Now, today we will be discussing mental health and emotional realness. So we're going to follow a theme called soft life versus hustle culture. Can we really choose? Now, the tension between ambition, burnout, and wanting ease. Now, this captures a very real dilemma facing many of us today, especially young professionals, creatives, students, and entrepreneurs trying to carve out a meaningful life. So, what is soft life? Let's talk about this. Now, soft life is a lifestyle concept rooted in ease, self-care, leisure, financial comfort, ideally passive or less strenuous income, emotional wellness, and balance. It rejects toxic productivity and glorified suffering in favor of rest, joy, travel, luxury, and mental peace. For many, especially women and people of color, it is also about reclaiming the right not to struggle. Then hustle culture, what is this? Now, on the flip side, hustle culture glorifies constant work, side hustles, grind mentally, and an almost religious devotion to productivity. It's about a 5 a.m. club, a 16-hour workday, sacrificing sleep and social life to build your empire. It promises long-term success and status if you're willing to pay the price now. So let's talk about the tension between the two, ambition versus ease. Now, many people, especially Gen Z and millennials, are ambitious. We want success, recognition, wealth, impact. But we're also burnt out. We've seen our parents work themselves into illness only to be underpaid, overlooked, or unfulfilled. So we desire a different path. Yet ambition doesn't just switch off, it tugs us constantly. So here's the inner battle. I want to rest, but I also want to win. I want peace, but I also want power. I want to log off, but I also want the life I dream of. So burnout as a badge of honor. Now, in hustle culture, burnout is a word like trophy. If you're exhausted, that means you're doing it right. But it has led to mental health crisis, chronic fatigue, and a generation who are disillusioned with the promise that hard work alone guarantees success. But the truth? What's the truth? Sometimes the hustle culture doesn't pay off. Not equally, not fairly, and not fast enough. The system is rigged in so many ways, and the pressure is unsustainable. So, can we really choose? Now, this is the heart of it. Economic reality now, most people can't fully choose a soft life. Bills don't stop. Generation wealth isn't always given, and in living a soft life often requires financial resources, flexibility, and sustainability. And stability, which ironically often comes after a period of hustle. So the question isn't so much, can I choose one or the other? It's more about, how can I strike a balance that doesn't kill me in the process? Now, privilege and access. Now, some people inherit comfort, others earn it, but many must hustle for the chance to even consider rest. Now, that's the uncomfortable truth. Choosing a soft life without means or support systems can feel like self-sabotage. Choosing hustle without boundaries can feel like self-destruction. So we're stuck in this push-pull, wanting both and needing both. Now, where's the middle path? Now, this conversation today is shifting towards sustainable ambition. So here's what this might look like, okay? So work smarter, not harder. So leverage tech, automation, freelancing, passive income. Define success on your own terms, because not everyone wants to be a billionaire. Maybe you want freedom and not fame. Rest as resistance. Prioritizing mental health and well-being is productive in the long run. Seasonal hustling. Push during certain chapters, then pull back and rest. So What does your life need? Everyone's answer will be different. Culture might glorify hustle, but your body, soul, and spirit might be crying out softness. On the other hand, the dream of the soft life might also be a facade if it's being built on escapism rather than intention. To ask yourself now, what kind of life am I building? What legacy do I want, or do I want luxury, or both? What cost am I willing to pay, and what cost is too high? Think about it. Now, we are going to talk about another theme, which is crying in public. Why Gen Z doesn't hide sadness anymore. Now, destigmatizing vulnerability and redefining emotional strength. Now, this is such a rich and layered topic, and it speaks to the heart of how emotional expression, mental health, and generational identity are evolving. So, let's explore this a bit, okay? So, now, as I said, crying in public, why does Gen Z not want to hide sadness anymore? Now, setting the scene, what has changed? Once upon a time, showing emotion, especially in public, was seen as weak, shameful, or even embarrassing. Crying was something you did behind closed doors. You kept it together, especially in professional or social places. Vulnerability was often hidden under layers of strength. But Gen Z has flipped the script. Now, today you'll find people crying on TikTok, sharing their breakdowns in real life time on Instagram, or openly speaking about their therapy journeys on podcasts. Now, a generation raised in the digital age is embracing emotional transparency as a normal, even necessary part of life. So, why doesn't Gen Z hide sadness anymore? Let's talk about this. We'll talk about A, normalizing mental health. Gen Z has grown up in an era where mental health awareness is far more mainstream. Depression, anxiety, burnout, these aren't taboo topics anymore. So platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter have become safe spaces, at least for some, to talk about struggles openly, where older generations were told to man up or pull yourself together. Gen Z asks, why should I hide what I'm going through? Who does that serve? Now, B, the era of realness. Gen Z has a low tolerance for inauthenticity, so glossy perfection and fake positivity do not resonate. Now, in a world full of filters and curated content, realness stands out. Crying in public, online or in person, it's a radical act of truth and society obsessed with image. So it says, I'm not okay, and I don't need to perform wellness for you. That's it. Then C, rejection of toxic sexism. Now, traditional masculinity, and in many cultures, femininity too, has long equated emotion and weakness. But Gen Z is dismantling those norms. Now, vulnerability is no longer a liability, it's a strength. So people cry in public not because they lack resilience, but it's because they are human, and they're tired of pretending otherwise. D. Collective drama. Now, this generation has lived through a global pandemic, economic instability, climate anxiety, political chaos, social justice reckonings. Now, these traumas, shared traumas, have fostered collective empathy. There's a mutual understanding that pain is part of the human experience. Crying in public is no longer weird, it's relatable. Now, destigmatizing vulnerability. Now, what does this really mean? Now, this means that you're not broken if you feel deeply. You don't have to hide your emotions to be respected. Emotional expression is not a failure of control, but a release of truth. Now, where previous generations prized composure, Gen Z prizes connection. And that connection is built through openness and not stoicism. Now, redefining emotional strength. Now, here's the shift. The old definition of strength is where you hold back your tears, pushing through the pain silently and never letting them see you sweat. Now, the new definition of strength follows as feeling fully, speaking truthfully, and honoring your emotions even in public. So, Gen Z is not crying because they are weak. They are crying because they're self aware, emotionally literate, and unwilling to repress what needs to be felt, and that is powerful. Now, social media, a double-edged sword. Let's talk about this. Let's dig deep into this. Now, it's important to acknowledge that while platforms have helped normalize emotional openness, they've also created blurred lines between sharing and oversharing. So sometimes crying in public becomes performative, and not every space is safe for vulnerability. But for many, social media is the only place to feel seen, heard, and validated. Now, that in itself says a lot about our society and where traditional support systems are failing. Now, cultural difference, and now let's not forget, crying in public is still not universally accepted, okay? So that's realistically, now in some cultures and communities, emotional expression is heavily policed. For example, in Black, brown, or immigrant families, there's often a generational fear of appearing soft. Many men are still disproportionately shamed for showing sadness. Religious or conservative backgrounds may discourage public emotion. So Gen Z's openness isn't just a generational shift, it's also an act of defiance in the face of cultural pressure. So, what now? Crying in public is becoming a part of a larger cultural movement. So, toward emotional honesty, toward communal healing, and toward redefining what it means to be okay. So, it's not about romanticizing pain, it's about humanizing it. So, what's our message here? If someone cries in public, maybe they're not looking for pity or solutions or attention. Maybe they're just honoring their humanity. And maybe instead of turning away, we should take it as an invitation to soften, to listen, and to feel. Because strength doesn't always look like silence. Sometimes it looks like tears on a park bench, or a voice cracking in a classroom, or someone saying, I'm not okay today, and that is okay. Now, we are going to be talking about why healing feels like a trend and still hurts. Now, therapies speak on TikTok versus the raw reality of doing inner work. Now, this is a complex and deeply timely topic. So, this captures where you get to the heart of how modern digital culture intersects with mental health, especially for younger generations navigating self-discovery in an age of social media. So let's unpack this a bit, okay? So why healing feels like a trend and still hurts. Setting the stage, what do we mean by healing? Now, healing in this context refers to emotional, psychological, and sometimes spiritual recovery or growth. It includes processing trauma, processing boundaries, setting boundaries, unlearning toxic behaviors, breaking generational cycles, cultivating self-love, peace, and purpose. Traditionally, healing was seen as private, sacred, and open painful, but in recent years, especially with the rise of platforms, TikTok and Instagram has created a platform where it can become visible in ways sometimes aesthetic. Anyway, I will be back right after the ad break where I will be talking about how therapy speaks the language of healing.
Sunnah a Day, proudly brought to you by Sunpick, 100% pure sunflower cooking oil. Sunpick, cook more with less.
मेरे नबी प्यारे नबी सुन्नत तेरी दुनिया दी.
Sunnah a day, do not blow into the food to cool it down, let it cool on its own.
Sunnah a Day, proudly brought to you by Sunpick, 100% pure sunflower cooking oil. Sunpick, cook more with less.
Imagine this. You're putting together a 7-color meal, from the creamy pasta to the glazed carrots and flavorful onion gravy. This entire meal is made with our 100% pure extra virgin olive oil from our La Familia range, bringing outstanding quality and taste to your kitchen. Shop La Familia 100% pure extra virgin olive oil at any leading supermarkets near you. La Familia, heart of the home.
Looking to book a venue for that special occasion? Come and book the Conference Centre on 207 West Road or Community Hall on 189 West Road, which accommodates 120 to 300 people with ample and safe parking. For all your hall requirements, contact the reservations department on 031 208 1601 or email us at reservations@alansar.org.za. Save the date. Don't delay. Book away.
Join me, Fatima Kareem, and the Radio Al Ansar team at the King Farm Agri Fair. It's a day packed with delicious food, exciting entertainment, vibrant stalls, and non-stop fun for the whole family. Don't miss the chance to view top-quality livestock up close. Free entry, unforgettable memories, and a chance to meet the Radio Al Ansar team. What more could you ask for? Save the date, Saturday, May 18, 10 Georgedale Road, Caterett, the King Farm Agri Fair. See you there.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto. your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Can feel auto.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.
Car won't start?
Can feel auto.
Noisy brakes?
Can feel auto.
Due for a service?
Can feel auto. Can feel auto. The answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
Join me, Faisal MJ Suleiman and Buddy Govender on Let's Chat this Friday evening at 9 p.m. and every Friday thereafter when we venture on a trip down memory lane.
Remember, the vibrant district of the Grey Street Casbah has been the soul of Durban's Indian community, a place where stories are woven into the fabric of its bustling markets, historic buildings, the people, and that has shaped our legacy. From the towering Juma Masjid Mosque to the majestic Emmanuel Cathedral to the iconic tea rooms and shops that have stood the test of time. The Casbah, more than just a place, it's an experience. It's a life that seems to have faded away into memory. This will evolve into a regular Friday evening series on the show, and you can share your memories and experience and family stories with us by calling in or sending us a WhatsApp, which we will read out on the show.
Tune in to Let's Chat on Radio Al Ansar and enjoy the stroll down memory lane together. Let's Chat this and every Friday at 9 p.m.
This Eid al-Adha, remember the ultimate sacrifice and your duty to humanity. Join the Al Ansar outreach in reaching over 70 villages in Malawi. For just 1,200 rand, your Qurbani is slaughtered, cleaned and distributed under the supervision of our respected Mufti. Make your Qurbani count. Call Al Ansar outreach today, 031 208 1601.
Radio Al Ansar, Durban, South Africa.
It's Ria Mahomed here, hosting the Next Gen show on Radio Al Ansar. It's not just a radio show, it stands as a powerful movement in its own right. It embodies the essence of individuality, creativity, and positivity, where we explore the latest trends and engage in lively discussions. Expect a mix of insight, humor, and mental health, social justice, and relevance that promises an enlightening and enjoyable listening experience, ensuring you don't miss out on this captivating adventure on Next Gen. Okay, lovely, beautiful souls. It's Ria Mahomed back live on Next Gen. Now, we are going to be talking about therapy speak and the language of healing. Now, there's a whole new vocabulary floating around the internet, like triggering, boundaries, gaslighting, inner child, shadow work, self-regulation, narcissistic abuse. Now, these terms, once confined to therapy rooms and psychology textbooks, are now in 30-second TikToks, Reels, carousels, and tweets. Influencers are sharing healing journeys in pastel slides and morning routine vlogs. So affirmations are layered over a calming audio. Inner work is being packaged as content. So why does healing feel like a trend? A, marketable aesthetic. Now, self-care and healing have become commodified, so we're seeing that girl routines with mediation, meditation, journaling, matcha, yoga, then skincare as emotional regulation, therapy sessions as storytelling content, brand collaborations around mental health awareness months. So while some of this is genuinely helpful, a lot of it is curated to be watchable rather than transformational. So healing becomes something you display and not something you endure. Then B, algorithmic validation. Social media rewards vulnerability, but only polished kind. So posts about surviving trauma, setting boundaries, or choosing peace go viral. But the messy, uncertain, ugly moments of healing, those don't trend. So we're seeing a rise of performative healing where people adopt the language without doing the deep inner work. Then C, fast culture meets slow work. So healing is slow, but the internet is false. So truly healing requires patience, repetition, discomfort, accountability, long periods when nothing looks different on the outside. But in the age of instant gratification, people are trying to speed run their healing like a 30-day challenge. That disconnect is why healing often feels hollow, even when we're doing something and all the right things. So why does it still hurt? No matter how pretty it looks, real or inner work is messy. Now, healing isn't always self-love and aromatherapy. Sometimes it's about mourning the version of you who tolerated pain, admitting that you hurt others, confronting family dynamics, letting go of people who you still love, sitting in silence with your own thoughts. That does not fit nearly into social media frame. Then B, language equals integration. Now, just because you can language does not mean integration. Now, just because you can name a trauma, that doesn't mean you've healed from it. We might know all the terms like attachment style, emotional availability, people pleasing, but if that insight does not change how we live, it is not healing. It's just intersection related. Now, it's easier to talk like a therapist than act like someone who's healing. So see, healing is not linear. Now, many influencers share healing journeys with neat timelines, like I went to no contact and now I'm thriving. I left my toxic job and I found peace. I started journaling and my anxiety disappeared. In reality, healing often looks like taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, thinking you over something, then being triggered again, making progress and still feeling broken. Now, the internet rarely shows relapses, regret, or regression, but they're part of the process. Now, 5, the danger of the trend. A, healing becomes comparison game. So you might start to wonder, why is her healing journey so peaceful? Why am I not soft and glowing yet? Why does it still hurt? Now, this turns something deeply personal into another metric of self-judgment. And that's the opposite of what healing should be. B, pressure to be emotionally perfect. Now, when everyone's using therapy language, you might feel the pressure to always be emotionally correct, to never react, to never be triggered, to never be regress. You start to perform healness rather than allowing yourself to be human. So what does real healing look like? Now, here's the truth. Healing is not a trend. It's not cute. It's not linear. It's not content. It's private, painful, boring, liberating, ugly, beautiful, freeing, and exhausting. Sometimes it's all at once. It's crying without needing to post it, journaling without aesthetic candles, setting boundaries that cost you relationships, not needing to explain your growth to anyone. Now, real healing doesn't always look good, but it feels more honest. So, healing beyond the hashtags might feel like a trend right now because they're finally visible, but that's a good thing. Mental health needs to be spoken about. But we need to also protect the integrity of healing. It's okay to not have your story wrapped up in a caption. It's okay if your journey doesn't look like something else or anyone else's. You don't have to be performatively healed to be truly healing. So if it still hurts, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means that you're in the middle of something real. Now let's talk about friendships and relationships. Now, friendship breakups hit harder than romantic ones. Now, the underrated grief of losing your platonic person. Now, this phrase, friendship breakups hit harder than romantic ones, challenges the dominant cultural narrative that places romantic relationships above everything else. But for many, especially those in close-knit or long-term friendships, the pain of a platonic fallout cuts far deeper and lingers far longer. So let's break this down. It's a real psychologically profound experience where friendship breakups hit harder than romantic ones. So number 1, the myth that romantic love is supreme. Socially and society is built around the idea of romantic love is the important and most important bond you will ever form. The films and books center around romantic arcs. Cultural milestones like marriage, anniversaries, honeymoons are romantic. There are even legal recognition like marriage rights, next of kin for romantic partners. Friendships, meanwhile, are often seen as supporting roles, optional, fluid background characters in the main story of life. But for many of us, our deepest connection isn't with a partner, it's with a friend. And when that relationship and friendship ends, the grief is real, but there's often no roadmap for it. So, why do friendship breakups hurt so much? Now, there's no script for ending, okay? Romantic breakups come with rituals where you cry, you vent, you listen to breakup songs, friends gather around to support you, the people understand they were your ex. But with a friendship breakup, there's no closure script. People may not take it seriously. You're often left to grieve alone, feeling like it was just a friend. Now, that invisibility makes it more isolating, more confusing, and more painful. So you share more of yourself. Because in close friendships, especially best friends or platonic soulmates, you often share your family, your childhood memories, your worst fears and biggest dreams, your inside jokes, shared language, unspoken understanding. Sorry, but when that bond breaks, it feels like a piece of you is being ripped away. It's not just the loss of that person, it's the loss of your mirror, your home, your witness. It feels more unexpected, like romantic relationships come with unspoken expiry risks. Breakups are more common and even expected, but friendships, we assume they're going to last forever. You imagine they will be at my wedding, we'll raise our kids side by side, we will grow old and laugh about everything. So when it ends, it's not just pain, it's shock, disbelief, and disorientation. So less language, less legitimacy. But there's no word for a friend X. No title for the one who knew me but isn't in my life anymore. So how do you explain the grief? It's not a breakup song or on the radio, it's a silent ache. So the depth of platonic intimacy. Now, platonic love is real love. Sometimes it's more consistent and emotionally safe than romantic love ever was. So, in your closest friendships, you often show up without performance, cry without shame, love without fear of rejection. Now, these are the people who see you at your most unfiltered. So, when do you lose that? It's not just about losing connection, it's about losing and witnessing. So the person who saw you just remembered your milestones, held your secrets. That's not a small loss, it's an emotional earthquake. So let's talk about types of friendship breakups. Now, there's no one size fits all. There can range from slow fade, where you drift apart with time and life stages, sudden rupture, a betrayal, an argument, or a boundary crossed, one sided growth, where you evolve and they don't, or vice versa. Unspoken resentment, where things fester beneath each type, that brings its own kind of pain, and often it ends without a real goodbye, just distance. Then the grief is real, even if nobody talks about it. So here's the reality. You might still think about them every single day. Certain songs, places, phrases trigger waves of memory. You catch yourself going, I need to tell her this, I need to tell him this. Before remembering, you no longer can. You need to cry. You cry not just for the person, but for the version of yourself that existed when you were with them. Now that is grief. Not just loss, transformation through loss. So why we don't talk about it enough? Now, society doesn't prioritize friendships in the way it should. There are no support systems for friendship grief. No therapists asking, tell me about your broken friendship. No sympathy cards that say, I'm sorry you lost your best friend. So we suffer quietly. But just because the grief is unspoken does not mean it's not valid. In fact, the silence around it deepens the pain. So how to heal from a friendship breakup? Let's talk about this. Acknowledge that it's a real loss. Don't downplay it. Grieve fully. So journal, cry, make a space for your feelings. Reclaim the lessons. What did that friendship teach you about love, identity, and connection? Forgive, even from afar, not for their sake, but for your own peace. Let the memories live. You don't have to erase them to move on. Make room for new people, but don't rush. Let new friendships form their own time. So if you are lost your platonic person and still aches when you hear their name, you're not dramatic. If you miss the conversations, the laughter, the little check-ins that once anchored your week, you're not weak. You are human, and you're grieving a love that you never had a label, but shaped your world. So sometimes friendships, breakups,